In this video, we're going to do a motion capture and bring it into Unreal to add particles to the shot. I also recommend, if you want to see a similar video to this one, that you check out the previous one, where I did a step-by-step guide on how to create this animation. Well, the first thing we're going to do, as always, is capture the animation from a video. In this case, I'm going to use this one, which is from this channel here. And well, for this purpose, to make a tutorial, it obviously works for me. If not, well, you would have to. If it's for some kind of commercial video or something like that, you would have to record this type of movement yourselves. But anyway, for this case, for this test, this video works for us since it has a turn over here. So let's go ahead and capture the video from here. Alright, once the animation has been captured, I'm going to open it here in the editor. And well, we can see that the capture is quite accurate. If you wanted to have the hands together, right, holding the weapon, you would have to do it in another program like iClone or Blender or one of those. I usually use iClone, but in this case, I'm not going to do it so as not to add another piece of software to the tutorial. But as we can see, the capture is quite accurate. Even the hands with the weapon there and everything. So, well, this already works for us as it is. We're going to use it like this. And from here, I'm going to export the FBX that I need to bring into Unreal. Alright, now I'm already in Unreal. As you know, in the marketplace, there are a ton of environments that are free, as well as characters, also free, and well, particles too. So obviously, you won't be using the same materials I'm using, but you can use any of the ones you have available or any you've purchased. I've already installed the Meshcapad plugin here. If you don't know how to install it, there are also videos on the channel that explain how to install it in Unreal. I'm going to create a folder here to put this animation, and I'm going to import the FBX that I downloaded. Here to import it, we're going to keep this ST. We're going to select here. And here, you need to set the animation time. Set this to 0. And that's it. Now let's import it like this. Alright, so now we have the Meshcapad mannequin and the animation. Now what we need to do is transfer this animation to the character we're using. For that, we need to check which skeleton this character uses. So let's go here. And here it shows us which one it is. But I'm going to press enter in this case, and here we can actually see which skeleton this character uses. I'm going to go into preview here, and it shows me that it's this one right here. So from here, I can go look for it in the folder where it's located. It shows me that it's inside this folder. And now we're going to do the automatic retargeting. For that, let's go to where we downloaded the animation. Let's find the animation, which was this one. We're going to right-click and select Retarget Animation. Alright, now we have to look for that skeleton that was down below. So I'm going to scroll back down to where that was. Okay, and it was this one here, the mannequin. So I'm going to go back up to this window. With that selected, I'm going to click here, and it will set it to this option. Now if I select this animation, we can see that the mannequin has no issues when switching from one animation to another. This is the advantage of doing automatic retargeting in Unreal. Well, here I could export only the animation because it's the only one I'm actually going to use in this particular case. But let's suppose for a moment that we have several different animations available. What we need to do in this situation is first export the retarget assets, which we will then place carefully in a new folder. In this case, I'm going to name it like this and export them there. And if I go here now, and select the animation from here, we can see that I can also export it from here, right? So I'm just going to export this animation directly. and I'm going to export it into this folder. Alright, now we have the animation, and we're going to test it in a sequencer. For that, we're going to open here. We're going to create a new sequencer. In this case, I'm going to name it, and I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to select the character I have in the scene. I'm going to enlarge this section here so you can see it more clearly. And if I now choose the animation section from the menu and then click here on the plus sign, the animation that I previously exported should appear in the author list, which in this case was this one. The plus the sign allows you to add new animations, and by exporting beforehand, you ensure your animation is available for selection at this step. We can see that it looks pretty good. Later we'll adjust it to fit exactly where it should go, right? But anyway, now we know that we have it on the character. So what we're going to do is add the weapon and the shooting part and see how we activate those particles here. I'm going to remove the animation now so that the character returns to that position, making it easier to place the weapon. And I'm going to look here for a weapon that I've already downloaded, as well as some shooting particles that I've also downloaded. For this tutorial, I'm going to use this one here in the soldier characters folder. Alright, here I already have the pistol in my hand, and what I'm going to do next is rotate it so that it's facing directly forward. That means turning it 180 degrees from its original position. Now, I'm going to raise it up a bit higher to make it easier for me to handle and demonstrate, but honestly, it doesn't really matter exactly where you choose to do this step. Let's place it around here. What I'm going to add here now is the shot effect, so that later when I attach it to the hand, everything is already set up and I don't have to attach the shot effect then, which would be in a harder to reach position. For that, I'm going to use the shot effects I have here in this folder. So I'm going to use this one. Oh, right, I'm going to click here. So this is visible. All right, and now we can see the shot effect, right? Which in this case is pointing over there. I'm also going to very carefully rotate it a full 90 degrees so that it fits perfectly there. And then I'll slowly move it carefully up to the exact spot where I have the weapon placed, which was located right here. What I'm going to do now is turn off the shot effect so it's not going off like that all the time. So, I'm going to type these first three letters here and uncheck this to turn it off so it's not always active. Now that I've already attached, I've placed it in the position where it should go, what I'm going to do is attach the shot effect to the pistol. So for that, I'm going to go here. It doesn't really matter what I select here because I could choose base, but I'm not going to select anything since it doesn't need to be attached to any specific bone. And now I'm going to go and place the weapon inside the character. So I'm going to move it over there. I'll leave it roughly there. It doesn't need to be exactly in place because I'll adjust that later once I have the animation set up again. So for now, I'll leave it there and attach it to the character, which is this one right here. Here, I do need to specify that it goes to the right hand. There, the character was crossed out for me. If I move the character now, everything will move all together, right? So let's go back here in the sequencer. I'm going to put the animation back in here. And let's see how that looks. Okay. Well, it should be more or less there. Here, as I was saying, if we want the hands to look right, even though the motion capture does capture the hands, it's obviously not entirely precise, that depends on the video, but we can fix that in another software, like I did when I fixed it in iClone. But I think there's also another option available in the Unreal Marketplace, which would be this one. Well, one of the tools we can use is this one from the Fab Marketplace, Musetapa, which is called that. And its main feature is this option that lets you change the hand pose. In other words, it's useful for anything related to fighting, or in this case, for a shooting action. This is one of the tools you can use. And the other is iClone, which is the one I use. So this is the other one, the one I use, which is the iClone program, and it comes with all these hand presets. And, well, for an animation like this, which needs to be quite precise, for example here with the hand posture, either of these two tools works. Otherwise, obviously with motion capture, in the case of Meshcap Capel, which captures the hands, that would already be enough. But in this case, since it requires more precision to get the hands just right, well, the option I always use is this one. If you want, just leave a comment and I'll make a tutorial on how to use this. So I'm going to move on now with the animation in Unreal. Alright, so what we're going to look at now is how to position it. It will have to go over this to simulate what we had in the video. But in this case, it's simply a matter of moving it and leaving it where it needs to go. In my case, I'll move it a bit over here. Yep, that looks good there. Alright, now how do we activate the firing pod? We're going to select this particle. We're going to add it here to the sequencer. Do you remember that we had it deactivated here? That's fundamental because otherwise it will be firing from the very beginning. So you need to have this deactivated once you've added the particle here. We're going to go here to Niagara component. And here, once we've added that, we're going to add this option. Now it allows us to activate it at any point in the timeline we want. In this case, it triggers there, and that's when it fires. So from here, we're going to activate it. For example, as if there were a couple of shots right there. Well, that's everything regarding how to activate particles and attach a specific object to a character. But basically, that's all. This is how the entire animation is done. The same goes for when the particles are activated behind the explosion. You also have to activate them here in the sequencer. And everything else is simply moving it with transforms, meaning from one place to another, like the bullet and like this thing that comes through here first. But as I was saying, the tutorial is basically about how the shot and the particles are attached to the weapon here. So that's the way you can work in Unreal with a motion capture, where you need to add particles and create a scene that has some meaning. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, leave a comment about anything else you'd like to know. And I'll see you in the next tutorial I make with another Meshcapy animation.